just an aggro deck, pure and simple. How's it going, everybody? I'm Josh from Elder Drunken Highlighter, and I'm coming to you with a deck tech video for Anzrag the Quake Mole, cEDH. Yeah, this deck is kind of wild. It's running a bunch of cards that you wouldn't expect in a cEDH deck, including its commander, who is just a beat stick. That's what we're going for. That's our main game plan here. So Anzrag the Quake Mole is 2 colorless, a red and a green, for an 8/4 with upside. It's a 4-mana 8/4 with upside. He says whenever it becomes blocked, untap each creature you control. After this combat phase, there's an additional combat phase. So he's essentially unblockable. And he also, on top of that, has 3 colorless, 2 red, 2 green. Anzrag must be blocked each combat this turn if able. It doesn't even say activate only as a sorcery on that ability, which is just insanity to me, just completely wild to me. If you showed this card to someone who was like a standard grinder in 2011, I think they'd have a heart attack. This is just an aggro deck, pure and simple. Its commander kills you in 3 hits and comes down on turn 2 or turn 3, and it's just trying to get people dead. We're not even playing that much stacks. We're just playing gas. You know how I build decks. You know how I be. But seriously, I don't think stacks is the way to go here. And the reason for that is cards like Gruul Primal Hunter. So Gruul has a bunch of abilities that don't matter. The one that matters is -3, draw cards equal the greatest power among creatures you control, which means that you'll pay 5 mana and draw 8. Pretty nutty. We have a lot of ways to do this, with Rishkar's Expertise being our most expensive and probably best way, with stuff like Soul's Majesty and Hunter's Prowess also following in. My favorite one out of all of these effects, though, is Hunter's Insight. It's a 3-mana instant that says draw 8. Kind of gross. Our main game plan from there is trying to win with some kind of combo. We can use Kiki Mirrorbreaker and Hyrax Tower Scout as a way to win, as well as Dualcaster Mage and Twin Flame or Heat Shimmer for infinite creatures in combat. We also have Eternal Witness, Dockside Extortionist, and Twin Flame as a way to get infinite lightning bolts or infinite hasty creatures or infinite mana as well. How this one works is you strive your Twin Flame, and your targets become Eternal Witness, which puts the Twin Flame back in your hand, and Dockside Extortionist, which pays for your next Twin Flame and then some. Every time you complete this loop, you'll make some hasty creatures and some treasures. Also, if you strive targeting the copies that you've already made with Twin Flame, using extra mana, for example, you can start recurring instant and sorcery spells from your graveyard too, such as Lightning Bolt. The other thing this deck does, besides combo off, is just kill people with the mole. Look at this. Just read Jessica. For 0 loyalty, she has an ability that says choose target creature. Until your next turn, that creature would deal combat damage to one of your opponents. It deals triple that damage to that player instead. That's an instant kill with the Mole God. If you can give it trample and make it forced to be blocked, you can maybe even kill multiple players. We also have stuff like Teamer Battle Rage, just to sneak up on people and nail them. We can do a combo with something like Provoke to force one of our opponent's creatures to block us, and then hit it with Teamer Battle Rage, giving our creature double strike and another combat. That's a dead opponent, and sometimes multiple dead opponents if someone already had commander damage marked on them. I think the best Teamer Battle Rage effect that we have, though, is Two-Handed Axe. It's a double strike instant, just like Teamer Battle Rage, although it doesn't give trample, which kind of doesn't matter with our commander, because it'll attack again if it becomes blocked. And it also has double power when it attacks to the equipment. So if you have the full 7 mana to pay for the entire thing, the double red, or the triple red, and the 4 colorless, then you can give your commander double power and double strike, which is an instant kill. Let me tell you, cEDH players salt the hell out when you instant kill them with combat damage in a commander game. I should know, I'm main Brawl and Shabraz. Another way to combo off with Anzrag is by making it so that he doesn't deal any combat damage, and your opponent's creature, who's forced to block, doesn't take any combat damage. There's a lot of ways to do this, and I played around with them in the deck for a long time. You can check the deck's history on Moxfield if you want to see the madness that is my brewing process for this thing. Ultimately, I settled on Terrifying Presence as the only real way to do this in the deck. I just felt like the effect wasn't quite strong enough over stuff like Dualcaster Mage and Twin Flame, where the pieces are very, very useful on their own. How the combo works is you use Terrifying Presence and target like a mana dork, like an Arbor Elf or something. Then you go to combat and force your opponent's creatures to block with Anzrag. Your opponent's creatures will block and they won't take any combat damage, and Anzrag will become blocked and won't deal any combat damage. You'll get another combat. The only creature that will deal combat damage is your Arbor Elf. So if it becomes blocked, it'll slowly chip away at the creature blocking it without taking damage itself. And if it doesn't become blocked, it'll kill your opponent after, I don't know, like 40 combats or something. But you have all the time in the world. Another sweet little combat trick for this deck is Benefactor's Draw, especially because it untaps your dorks, which lets it pay for Anzrag's really expensive ability. So if you activate Anzrag's ability with the mana from your now untapped dorks, you can force your opponent's creatures to all block your Anzrag and draw you a bunch of cards. Our creature suite is pretty standard for Gruul. Allosaurus Shepherd is especially important here because all of our draw 8 spells, like Return of the Wild Speaker, for example, are green, so it allows us to get around counter magic using his ability. Also 5/5 elves in a combat deck, pretty good. Arbor Elf is especially important in this deck because when you're going to extra combats, you can tap the Arbor Elf to untap other lands that you used in your first main phase to use them in your second main phase with the cards that you get. I also want to mention Armored Scrapgorger, a great card to tap multiple times in one turn when you're playing against a graveyard-based strategy. And Intrepid Paleontologist, another grave hater that's also a mana dork. I tried to have my mana dorks have a lot of upside in this deck because it's kind of greedy in the way that it attacks the game state. It relies on life total pressure and creature removal to keep opponents off of their combat strategies, which is great if you're playing against like Kinnan or Blue Farm or another deck that uses value creatures. But when you're playing against Storm, you need something to keep you alive, and Intrepid Paleontologist is kind of sort of that something. This one's great because animating lands allows them to untap every time that you use an extra combat with Anzrag. It also has 3 toughness, which means it dodges Bowmaster most of the time. And Manglehorn is one of the few actual stacks effects we have in the deck. The idea is that you tutor for this thing almost every single game just to keep your opponents down a bit and buy you some time to beat them to death. I opted to put a lot of creature tutors in the deck over ways to introduce more stacks into the game state just because I feel like Manglehorn is the best stacks piece to be playing in green right now, and it's the stacks piece that I want to have every single game. So why should I settle or compromise for a worse stacks piece when I can just have Manglehorn every game? Another stacks piece to consider for this deck maybe is 3-ball, Trinisphere. However, I don't think it's quite as good here because we rely really heavily on the instants and sorceries, which I'm about to go over right now. Autumn's Veil, way to protect our spells and our commander. Crop Rotation gets our Gaia's Cradle, basically, or some of our other utility lands. We'll go over them in a second. It's a useful card. It's great. Another way to protect our commander. Lightning Bolt's just here to kill Drannith Magistrate. We have Pyroblast, again, to protect our commander. Red Elemental Blast, here to protect our commander. Safekeeping, which also protects our commander. Veil of Summer protects our commander. You see where I'm going here? We have another way to remove Drannith Magistrate in a Braid that also has some artifact removal that comes in handy occasionally. Reverberate's another notable card here too. It's here to help win counterspell wars when people try to counter your draw spells, but also it's great to steal a tutor from an opponent. If someone tutors for something, you can tutor on top of them and either get something to interact with their tutor, or just get a card to help you win on your turn. We are running as much instant speed interaction as we can in this deck. Trickery is one of the best ones we can be on because it just counters anything. Also, we can use it to counter our own spells when we have just a bunch of mana and cards in hand because we drew 8. Honestly, I've never actually done that though. It doesn't seem like the play ever. Bolt Bend is one that I feel like people should run more in non-blue decks. Redirects stuff that attacks your commander. I feel like a lot of decks that aren't blue rely heavily on their commander. Obnixilis, for example. I stole this tech from Diggles on Obnixilis, shout out. Running this card allows you to dodge a lot of the interaction that hates out your commander or other board pieces while your commander's in play, the things that synergize with your commander. And it's just 1 red mana most of the time, so I feel like more people should run it. And this one is the Spice. Our commander has 8 power, so that's more than 7 power, which means that Not of This World is just a free counterspell for our commander, kind of like a Misdirection or a second copy of Deflecting Swat, I guess is more accurate. I don't know why Misdirection was the first thing to come to my mind there. I mean, it's less versatile than Swat, but it's still free if we control our commander, and our commander is a gigantic removal target, so we have a ton of ways to protect it. I was even on Lightning Greaves for a bit until I just decided that it wasn't good enough because it also stops us from targeting our commander with other things that would be beneficial to it. The artifact suite is pretty standard, a little barren actually. I've considered jamming Collector Oof in here, but this is too much of a dockside deck. We have a lot of creature tutors and a dockside in our deck, so Oof just doesn't seem like the plan. Cursed Mirror is a way to interact with dockside, speaking of which, it's a great clone for it. Pretty standard enchantment suite, nothing going on here. But the lands, there's a lot of utility in the land base. Because we have a lot of ways to untap our lands, like Yavimaya and Arbor Elf, or just turning them into creatures, we can use utility lands for a lot of different purposes. Bonder's Enclave, another one that really helps us in long games, draws us a card whenever we control our commander. I used this in River Song, and I really liked it there, so I've grabbed it over in here too, where we can untap it in the middle of combat to draw some extra cards. Centaur Garden is a really useful one here. Even more useful than Barbarian Ring, I'd say, because it puts our commander to 11 power, which means with double strike or with just 2 attacks, we can kill a player. I know City of Traders is controversial in a Gruul deck, but our commander has 2 colorless and its casting cost, so I'm all in, baby. Like a red-green land and a dork plus City of Traders is a turn 2 commander, and I want that. Forbidden Orchard is another weird one for a combat deck, but remember, we love when our commander gets blocked, and it's great when those spirits get used to turn sideways at another opponent because there's no point in blocking our mole with them anyway. Might as well get everyone to pressure life totals, and this is a great way to do it. Then, when we use something like Benefactor's Draught or another way to force blockers, the spirits become very beneficial to us. This one I'm kind of unsure on if it'll remain in the deck list for much longer. I like it as a way to give haste, but I don't like it as a colorless land, and I'm not sure if a haste effect is needed in this deck even. So it might become another red-green land at some point. Plaza of Heroes is another one you don't see in decks often. It's kind of expensive for the effect, but sometimes we just have a lot of mana. Because our commander is A, such a removal magnet, and B, a combat creature that needs to survive combat, being able to give it indestructible is very, very useful, so this land's great. Speaking of combat usefulness, Shinka is another really good one in this deck because it gives our commander first strike. Really, really great when there's Kroms who are sitting there trying to block it. Same goes for Scarred the Rage Pits with Trample and +1/+1 to give it 5 toughness. Suck it, Crom. And the last land is Yavimaya, which allows our Arbor Elf to untap all of our other lands. And that's pretty much the whole deck. Just go to combat, beat people to death, and win somehow, either with beats or a combo. Let's see it in action. I've been goldfishing pretty well turn 4s, turn 5s with this thing. Let's see if we can get there. Help if I changed it to the playtest mode. That's always something I forget. Let's see, what do we got? This ain't it, fam. Carpet Flowers. Jessica, that kills people. Way to refill. If I had another mana source, this would be a sweet hand, but it's not. Yeah, good thing we didn't keep. Going to 6. Okay. I'm here for this. So this is turn 1, land, Boreal Druid. Turn 2, land, Spirit Guide, Commander, Bonder's Enclave to draw some cards. Way to protect it, too. And a tutor for some action. Yeah, this is a hand. Let's bottom this Centaur Garden. All right, let's see what we get. That's not bad. All right, so let's shock in Stomping Ground. Play this Boreal Druid. And pass it up. Cool. So then we're going to play City of Brass. We don't want to show this yet. Exile the Spirit Guide, put down the mole, tapping all of these things. Then we're going to go to our turn 3. Play Bonder's Enclave. And then I think I just want to attack before I do anything. So let's see if our opponents try to kill the mole. We'll flip a coin. That's how we'll decide this. Heads is the mole gets headshot. Wow. We have Tamiyo's safekeeping, so take that opponent. And then second main phase, I think we just want to play out probably Arbor Elf. And pass it up. Boreal Druid, not super great because it makes colorless, but, you know, it's just a way to make mana in the deck. You need ways to make mana off of turn 1, so it's there. It's what we got. I'd so much rather have an Exalted Dork, but sadly they're 3 colors, you know. We drew Worldly Tutor, which is huge. That means we can go like Kiki and Hyrax Tower Scout next turn if we set up the mana. So I think that's our game plan now. So we're going to go right here. We're going to cast this Elvish Mystic, which leaves plenty of mana to go for. We can go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's Hyrax Tower Scout. And then we untap a creature, which will be this guy. And then we tap that creature for the Worldly Tutor. And that gets us Kiki on top of our deck. And then we draw Kiki. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the triple red, and we cast it. Turn 5 win. There we go. All right, let's enact the game plan. So I played my Elvish Mystic, right? And then I'm going to... All right, so we go to combat. We give some BS reason as to why we're not attacking with Mole God. And we pass the turn. And then... Or I guess we could... We have mana to Kiki on upkeep. Hold on. If we go... Tap a green from, I guess, the Mystic on upkeep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We still have enough to Kiki. I guess we can still attack with the Mole God if we get Hyrax Tower Scout in the main phase. But that's really suspicious. You know, that's sus as fuck. Would an opponent even let us tutor in the main phase? Probably not. I don't know. It's like... So there's options to take. So we could main phase Hyrax Tower Scout untapping our commander and then allow our commander to attack and then go to our upkeep tap this Elvish Mystic, cast the Worldly Tutor, find Kiki, and try to win there. I feel like that's the most sus line of all time. That's cavalier as fuck. That's everyone's gonna know what you're going for as soon as you put that Hyrax Tower Scout into play. They're gonna be like, oh, you wanted to attack with Mole God and also Kiki combo on your next turn. Got it. I'll hold my mana up. So I feel like that's not the play. But the problem is that not attacking with the Mole God is a signal play as well. That's a big giant light on you saying, like, why are you not doing the thing that your deck is built to do? So I think either way, you're signaling hardcore that this is your play. So which bluff you go for here? The Hyrax Tower Scout, I just want more blockers on the board, bro. I'm trying to get my Gaia's Cradle into play at some point. Play. Or the I don't want to attack with Mole God, bro. I'm not trying to get my commander killed so I can hold up Deflecting Swat. Play. Whichever one you want to go for there, it's going to depend on the table. Because the math is easier. Actually, no, because it's cooler. Let's go for the Hyrax Tower Scout main phase line. So there's the 3 green. There's the 3 extra mana. Let's main phase this Quarter Calling. Let's search our library for Hyrax Tower Scout. There it is. Maybe we sussed out that the table's got nothing. Maybe someone went for it. Everyone got blown out. Everyone's got like 2 cards in hand or something like that. Who knows? We're untapping our commander. We're going to combat, and we're beating someone down. And we have a 3/3 to block, so take that, Timna. And then we're going to go to our next turn, and we're going to untap everything. And then we're going to go to our upkeep. We're going to tap this Elvish Mystic for Worldly Tutor. We're going to go get Kiki. There he is. Put it on top. Hit the old next turn button. This guy's tapped, though. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Tap, darn you. 5. Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker. Then we tap Kiki, make a copy of Hyrax Tower Scout, untap Kiki, repeat the process until we are satisfied with the number of hasty Hyrax Tower Scouts that we have, and kill someone. And that was a pretty solid demonstration of what the deck does. We'll call it right there, though, and we'll end the video now. If you enjoyed all of this nonsense, then don't forget to join our Discord community. You can chat with me about it. You can play games against us or other people who play decks like this one. And also, you can just ask us deck building questions and hang out. It's a great little community. It's fun and cool. Also, you can follow us on all our other socials linked in the area down there. And you can check out our sponsor, Print Proxies. They make cool and amazing proxies such as these mana tokens right here that I use all the time for live streams and things. They're super easy to see on camera, which is why I love them. They're perfect for webcam play. So if you play a lot of webcam Magic, check out Original Print Proxy. You can use promo code ELDER to get a discount on your order. And that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. I honestly think this deck has legs, like I guess arms, claws. It's going places. I think the aggro is going to be more and more viable in cEDH as we go through the year, as more cards like this get printed. I don't think this is going to be the first disgustingly aggressively costed power toughness wise creature that we see in the next year for Magic, and I think a lot of them are going to make it in cEDH. I'm predicting a future where we're seeing decks like Riversong all the time. We're seeing deck choices like Slicer in the 99, and it's not weird. It's not jank. It's just like, oh yeah, no, you're a life total pressure deck. There's your Slicer. Sure, you have a Slicer. That's just what I think we're going to be seeing more and more of, and I'm so here for it. I'm so ready for it. Where are the Jetmir players at? Bring them back. Bring them back. Anyway, I've gone on long enough. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this nonsense, don't forget to click the links below, and I'll see you next time. Stay janky, my friends.